Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Today we have a very special guest with us, Sister Maryiem Noor. Sister Maryiem lives in Austin, Texas. She recently accepted Islam. She converted to Islam recently, in actually October 3rd of this year. She is an author and she specializes in fiction, fantasy books, as well as poetry. So thank you for coming on this interview, Maryiem.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I think you have a very interesting story that people would love to hear about, especially that you are just starting your journey with Islam. And I think it's very important for people to see the perspective that you're coming from, especially having your background there. As far as you told me, you have started your journey to Islam not very recently. It actually started in 2011, almost a decade ago. Is that right?
Yes, the study portion, it is correct. I've studied, it's been almost, like you said, almost a decade already.
How did that start? Like, what really triggered you to start looking into Islam?
Well, at that time, I was, I guess, just searching for more because I came from a Christian background. And I happened to go to, at that time, a lot of used bookstores, and I was just looking in the religious department, and they had the Quran with mixed with many books on the on the display shelves. So I was just it was mixed with other, again, like different religious books around it. I don't remember what was around it, but I just thumbed through it. Did not take it home that day, but I thumbed through it. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I went back to the other section in the religious section and looked up about Islam just to get some ideas. So that's how it started. Is I found a copy at the bookstore.
Interesting. And then you didn't take that copy with you home. Did you end up like researching more afterward?
Yeah, so about a couple days later, I looked online for. I was trying, didn't know the name of the masjid. I didn't know it's called masjids, so I just looking for. I said I came from the Christian background, so like congregation or meeting place, and so I looked it up and I found a local masjid. It was with the Shia at that time because I was in the nearby place, but I called them up and I said, listen, what is your dress code? How am I, if I just want to visit, how am I supposed to arrive? And they were very nice over the phone, and they were like 5 minutes from where I used to live, which is, very convenient car wise. So that's what I did is I just said, okay, I'm going to go for a visit, go for a tour. And I showed up, and it was there that day that they gave a free paperback copy that I was able to take home.
Okay, so you managed to take a copy a couple of days later from your experience in 2011.
Yes.
Ah, okay, interesting. And did you spend a lot of time reading it afterward, the Quran?
Yes, I did, and I'll just back up. Back up a little while. When I read, since I came from a Christian background, back in my younger days, when I was in the 20s, I used to work overnight or a graveyard shift at a gas station. So in the spare time, I read the Bible, and from front to back, it took 3 weeks, which I don't recommend speed reading. And that's a big book. So when I got the Quran and I took it home, and my kids were younger then, like 2, 4, and 8. So they're like, young. It took me 9 days to read it because I just couldn't put it down. And again, I do not recommend speed reading, but I'm like, what is this? It just felt like, I guess in the literary department, it just felt like this poetry, it was very different reading than the Bible, but it just felt like it was this poetry and this, everything just went together. But yeah, it took me 9 days.
Wow, you finished the whole book in 9 days. That's
Yes.
impressive.
Yes, and I haven't done that again in that speed. I just take my time now.
So once you finished it, what did you find that was interesting about it beside the literary kind of tools that are used? Like now, obviously, you have experience in writing poetry, so it must have been really intriguing to you, especially that it's being translated from Arabic, which has a certain amount of or certain type of literary tools that get used into English. What did you find interesting?
Yeah, first I didn't do my writing till years later. But what I found interesting was, as I was reading it, I found it like mentioning the different prophets, peace be upon them. That was like to me, and again, just my personal experience, it was like an extension of the story that was already told, but from a different point of view. So it's like kind of like in the movies, you get the narrative, you get the gist of things from one person, and then like you might have a different angle sometime later in the movie, like, well, what you didn't see, or it's like they're having a conversation, like, but this has happened. They give more details, and I felt that was the Quran pulling out details, like with with Abraham and Moses, and like with Maryiem. But yeah, so that's what I got out of it. And two, just reading it, I'm like, since it's centuries before, like scientific, uh, I'm like, how did they know all this? A simple man cannot just know all these things. It must have come from, God, Allah, that was revealed. It couldn't just be, man-made ideas to be written down. So that's what pulled me in as well.
Oh wow! So two aspects, basically the kind of the camera angle of the stories and how they were told, as well as some of what's considered scientific hints, and some people call them scientific miracles within the Quran. Is that right?
Correct.
Ah, intriguing. Did you end up like diving deeper into then the stories of those prophets like Abraham and Moses and Jesus, peace be upon them, after you finished the Quran? Because the Quran definitely gives a very interesting perspective, but the prophetic tradition gives even more details. So did you end up actually diving deeper into the story of Abraham or Moses or any of the other prophets, peace be upon them?
The only one was Muhammad, because again, growing up in the Christianity, I kind of knew of the other ones, but I'm now like, I don't want to say retracting, but I'm kind of like taking steps back and now looking into different prophets now. But I wanted to know more about Muhammad and what it was about him. So I would say I spent a few years reading up about him.
Wow, interesting. And how did you start diving into the story of the biography of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him?
Well, there's a lot of good books online and that you could buy. So I just got a one of the big thicker books. I don't have it in front of me, but it speaks about the prophethood of Muhammad, and about his story, and about his lineage of where he came from. And I believe if I had to get the book later, but I believe it's like over 400 pages, and I'm not even done with it yet. It's taken a while. So
I think I might know the book. Does it have a green cover?
I think it has a different. It's very colorful. Maybe there's different versions of the cover.
Okay, yeah. And I know one of those books is actually written by an English professor, I think, right?
I believe so. Yes.
I forgot what his name is. Do you know his name?
Not offhand, but we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
I don't say the nectar or the story of the again, I had to look at it.
Oh, the
because
sealed
again,
nectar.
I'm reading. Yeah, the sealed nectar.
Ah, okay. Yep. Well,
It's a big.
It's a big book.
Thing, but yeah, but overall, too, besides the book, there's many authentic Islamic websites about Prophet Muhammad. So, and maybe that's what I needed at that time to help me on my journey to get to where I was today. And I'm not saying that all the other prophets were less, because they're not, but maybe I just need to know more about him.
Definitely. And in the stories, I'm sure you experienced the character of the person that you're reading about, which I think creates some sort of a rapport with the reader. Did you find it at all confusing searching for such information about Islam online?
It just, again, it depends on what topic you're talking about and where you're going. There's, again, a lot of useful things, but yeah, I think, which we'll probably get into more in the interview later, is I just felt there's more I got more resources online than I did get in person.
Oh, interesting, interesting. So I know in 20 and if you feel uncomfortable, you don't need to dive into it, but in 2015 you started staying at home, but that also kind of contributed to your ability to have that time and that kind of your own time to read some more. How was it like being homebound, and how did that contribute to your growth in understanding the Islamic faith?
Okay, well, the homebound, it took me at least, I was complaining for a year. Back when I was 15, back in 92, 93, because I don't mind telling my age, I'm 43 years young now. And back then I got diagnosed with a blood disorder, just the shorter version. It's a platelet disorder. It's called ITP. I'm not going to go into the medical term, but also with that, and they removed my spleen because it looks like my body was attacking itself. So they removed the source of the problem. And actually I found I had 2 spleens instead of 1, and human beings are only supposed to have 1 spleen, and that helps your blood filter through and everything. So, and as soon as they removed it, again, my immune system is not perfect, or it's like, I shouldn't say it perfect, but people with their spleens have a better immune systems than those without. So that's the only side effect I got from that. But it went in remission. I never had my platelets never dropped to dangerous level again. But also from that, I got diagnosed a year later after that when I was 16 with chronic lupus, but both are in remission. So in 2015, to get where you're asking, so I've already had medical issues before, but I was still able to go out, go places. But in 2015, the doctors couldn't diagnose because I was still in remission from both things. And first of all, alhamdulillah, I'm not on medication. I'm thankful for that. And so an unknown virus or just something attacked my system again, and it made my muscles weak, and they couldn't, verify it because everything else was healthy. And I became homebound. So yeah, I was frustrated the first year. I'm like, why? Because I'm a very active person. My children were growing up. I used to go places, with them, even if it's just locally. But the part where you asked about Islam, how it helped me, is again, not that I wasn't online enough as it was, but I actually stayed online because I couldn't go visit the masjids anymore. And the only problem I saw with that is when you go to the actual masjid, for me, the sisters will talk to you there. They'll visit you, because you're in the same place. But it's hard to get them to come visit you in your home unless it's Ramadan or something. And I still needed help. I mean, like I told you before here, I did the Salah, the prayer, since 2011. I got taught that, and I'm like, now that I'm home, like, wait a minute, I don't have anything to follow because I'm used to seeing somebody. So that was the drawback. But because of online, I found, again, thanks to YouTube, I found actual proper ways to pray. So I learned a lot from the website. So I will say technology helped, and maybe it was preparing me for what we're going through this year, but it also takes away, unfortunately, from that one-on-one connection. But there's a lot of positivity. So I will say that, and also Allah did not give this to me. Allah allows these health circumstances to happen and me to go through these trials, but Allah did not place it on me. If that, at least I think in that way.
That's an amazing spiritual approach to such challenges. All these trials, you seem to have been well read into Islam. That's definitely a very higher station of how you approach trials, is that they are for you instead of like to you. So it's amazing to hear that. And you were experiencing all of these things, and you were praying even before you accepted Islam officially, right?
Yes, I was. So basically the only difference was, and again, there's no, timeline as far as, accepting Islam, but you're going to study all your life. And, I felt, and again, we'll probably get to this point, but I was already basically living an Islamic life or living as a Muslim before I officially became,
Mm,
made it official with my Shahada. But I would tell you the Salah and prayers, the reason, even as a non-Muslim, why I did that is because we get the azan on our phone to
mm,
alert us. It keeps us in order, but in good order, and just having a schedule.
mm,
And that at the beginning, I'm like, why 5 times a day, But after I did that for a few years, I appreciated the I don't say currency, but I appreciated the how much we were doing that, because it's part of me now. I don't even though I still have it on my phone to alert me, it's like it comes second nature now.
yeah,
So
it's amazing how it helps you kind of organize your life.
mhm.
Despite it being 5 times a day, it might sound like it's a daunting task, but honestly, it's like a breath of fresh air, and it kind of helps you really like schedule your day, and just be on top of things.
Yes.
You also speak about in 2017, uh, obviously after you became homebound, you started listening to a very prominent personality, Yusuf Chambers. And Yusuf Chambers is well known in his community work and his activism work. How did you even get to his videos, and what attracted you to his approach in delivering Islam and in activism?
Yeah, thank you for asking, and I'm very grateful for him. He's one of my friends on Facebook, and it's his Dawa team. It was so again, we are on Facebook, and when you listen from one scholar to another, sometimes they'll mention other people, or when you're in these Facebook groups, and you got to be very careful with the Facebook groups, but they'll mention different imams or different sheikhs or scholars, and that I don't know exact moment I found him, but his name came across. I checked him out on YouTube as I did with the others, and he just spoke to me, and I found out he had the Ira Dawa team, and they just help. I read everything online. I couldn't, since I'm not there, in the UK, in London, I couldn't physically be there, but they welcomed me, even though I'm across the pond, as they call it. But yeah, so he's a very busy man, but he did answer back to me a couple times on the messenger. But I appreciate um, his wisdom. Now I'm not putting him up on a pedestal, because I know he's like you and I, as far as he's not perfect, but I just believe that Allah chose him and others, that as far as the teaching style, or
Mm.
as far as it was just easier for me to understand. And again, I'm trying to say this praiseworthy, but again, not putting him on a pedestal. But yeah, so that's I just the way he teaches or explains about Islam is easier for me to understand.
See, this is very, very good for, us as born Muslims, as well as people who are considering Islam as a faith, or even people who are Muslims but didn't find the person that spoke to them. Is that it is important to listen to somebody. Yes, they should be delivering authentic information, but somebody that speaks to you, because otherwise you will feel like it's a burden. There are many scholars out there, me even personally. There are some of them that speak to me, the way I approach things, the way I like to talk about things, and that's okay, as long as they're all delivering authentic knowledge. That's fine. So what was about his approach that spoke to you? Can you really pinpoint that?
Mm. Well, it's his reversion story. Again, it's like you're talking about, like, I've studied for a decade. He studied for many years. Like, he was in college, and
Mm,
you know, um, it's just so I think we share as far as the time or longevity, like, just to study, and then it spoke to him. So I just liked I just liked his story. I guess pinpointing is kind of hard, but he just has so many messages that, as far as teaching the Quran and just different aspects that really called out to me. And I just want to, first of all, I just want to apologize to viewers that I'm not in full hijab, but with my health and everything, I do have, I do have a covering, but I just want to apologize in case anyone is watching, because again, with my health situation, it's hard to put the full scarf on and everything. So for medical reasons. But yeah, but back to Yusuf, he and his team are just they're needed. I know they expanded. They have, I believe, if I've read it correctly, they do have people here in America to help too. So it's not just the UK, but I like how they expand it. And they might have this already. I have to double check, but I hope they have, or person like me could be enrolled on their Dawa team and get help online because I can't leave the house. And now I know I don't need to specifically go through them, and I could be my own, my own person with the Dawa, but it's still good to have a team.
100%, 100%. And when you're part of a team, you learn a lot more and a lot faster. A team can save you so many years of experimentation, and finding that team. If you manage to find that team that really speaks to you, stick with them, because it is very difficult, very challenging to find a team that speaks to the person. I know even from my personal experience, to find a group of people that really kind of speak to my style and speak to my approach, it's very difficult. So when I found some of these teams, I really stuck to them. And you learn a lot from them, as well as you contribute to them as well. I mean, you as a person, you're an individual, you have your experiences, you have your knowledge, you have your aspirations, you have your challenges. All those are contributing to that team as well. It's not just a team doesn't view, I'm sure IRA does not view themselves as just people who are giving, but also as people that are getting and receiving from those experiences.
Right. And there's other Dawa teams here in America, at least, like Gain Peace. And they're, just so there's more than one. And I'm not trying to, drop or promote, but I'm just learning from what I've learned from. There's different resources for those that are learning about Islam to reach out, so you're not alone. But yeah, so again, that was in 2017, I believe. Even though they don't call it Easter, but to reach out to the Christians, they had a special on the Easter weekend on their live, and I happened to be listening to that. Oh. And that's how I learned. Even though I knew about him, that's how I learned about his team.
Right. And also Yusuf, as you said, it took him many years to finally for the scales to tip, and it took you about 10 years for the scale to tip. So what was that like? What tipped the scales for you to kind of go and say your shahada and basically, officially kind of accept Islam, despite you actually being a person who was practicing the Islamic rituals for a very long time?
Right. So I'm trying to go here. So Amanda, do you remember her last name?
Rickwood.
Rickwood. Thank you. It's Saturday. It's like my mind. Yeah. So again, I was on my on the Facebook group, and Amanda Rickwood keeps putting up her YouTube about her journey as well to Islam. And I watched your interview with her just about a week ago. And so I was interested in that. And I guess that's the tipping point. I watched, since she was in the group, and, I added her as a friend, and I watched her YouTube videos like she asked me to. And then I came back, and it's just that spark. I mean, I guess it wasn't one definite word, except, and I say this as a, like a parable, or, like a reference. I felt Allah telling me, not that Allah was actually talking to me, but I felt like Allah was telling me, well, you study for 10 years, you're going to study all your life. So you can't keep waiting, can't keep putting it off just because you're studying. And it's like, what's your excuse now? There is no excuse. And I just liked the way Amanda gave her story and shared with her. And she's a sister. Now, I could have taken my shahada all by myself with Allah being the witness. That wouldn't have stopped me, but I just wanted another person to witness it with me and to go along with me. So I reached out to her. I was kind of like a little scared at first. I'm like, I don't know what she'll think, but I just reached out to her, say, hey, um, I explained to her. I said, I want to take my shahada. How do you feel like it? And I don't know if it was that day before or that same day. That's still a blur around there. But she was so excited. She didn't want to put me on hold, but she's like, hold on. She got a hold of her friend. I believe she was in Egypt. And we all three got together on the Facebook Messenger and took my shahada then. But she was all excited. Because I think, and again, I had to verify with her. I think I was her first one that she did this for, and then she said she helped someone else, as far as if I remember your interview with her.
Yep.
But again, I could be wrong, but yeah, that's what tipped the scale for me, is that it's like no more excuses. It's time now. And again, and I just said, yeah, I am ready, and again, because you can study, all of your life, but it's just at that one moment, and it wasn't a big like firework explosion as far as just set me off. It's just one thing after another. Is I happen to see her post and see her videos and just follow along. So it was a slow progression. And then when finally dawned on me, I think it was that day. Now thinking about it, I'm like, I'm going to do it now, because it feels right. So, and also, as I explained in the last interview I was in, it has to come from the heart. It's not just me saying, okay, it's time, I'm just going to say it, because if your heart's not in it, then you're just saying words. That's the way I feel. If your heart's not in it, you could say the shahada 100 times a day. We say it at least many times a day with our prayers. But if your heart's not in it, then it's invalid. That's the way I feel, because Allah knows your heart, and Allah knows if you're saying it just to say it or if you truly mean it. So that's probably about the timing, is maybe if I would have said it, and again, it's hard to analyze, but if I would have said it before that, I don't think I would have been ready.
Definitely. It's even Amanda, it took her a long time. Like she went through a very long number of years until she finally she speaks of the sister Elizabeth that met with her as well, and finally told her, okay, what are you waiting for? And for her, it was more the perfectionism thing that she had. She felt she wasn't perfect. And for you speak about, you didn't feel that that was the right time until October 3rd or October 4th. Now, after you accepted Islam and officially embraced Islam as a religion, did anything change for you?
Not really, except the fact that I was officially Muslim, because I've already practiced for years and it's just a daily routine now. And again, spiritually things have changed, but physically, on a physical level, nothing really, much has changed, because I'm still in this, daily practice. But spiritually, yeah, it changed a lot.
How did it change spiritually?
Well, it changed because now I remembered I officially took that step. So I'm officially, part of the family now. Not that I wasn't accepted beforehand with certain people, but now it's actually official. So it's like I brought up before. It's like adoption records. Now it's sealed. Now it's final.
Right. Did you start facing more challenges after you've accepted Islam officially?
Well, I would say, because not many people know it, because I'm still processing, but I would say a couple of friends, I don't know if I call them friends anymore, but a couple of people I did know did realize of the change, and they didn't know why, so they just said, we're not having a part of you, even though I didn't, I'm like, you've been around me all this time, but I think at that time Allah was revealing to me who my true friends were, and but thankfully my husband and my children and my family, my inner circle, accepts my choices and supports me. And yeah, so I didn't get major challenges, but you know, I got some people that decide not to be friends anymore, and that's okay. Because I think it's like clearing out the house, you know, like just clearing certain people out. So that's the only major change I really went through.
I'm happy to hear that at least your family and your children are supportive of that.
Yes.
And you also are continuing to publish your books, and you're continuing to author. This acceptance of Islam, has that changed maybe your perspectives on what you're authoring, on how things or what things you would like to talk about, what poetry you would like to write about?
Well, since I already did publish books out there, I'm a fiction fantasy writer, but like in mythology, and I've heard both sides. Some Muslims accept it, others don't. It's fantasy work. I have a creative imagination. Um, I don't know. I with what I'm on, I already written volumes 1 and 2 out of a 4-volume series,
Oh,
and I'm a woman to my word. If I say I'm the self-published author, so I don't. When I say, you know, I owe them my word, it's my audience that already read my books that I actually got positive feedback from. And I'm going to finish the series as far as mythology. But then, like you asked, if there's a major change, yeah, there's a major change. I'm going to stick to more what Allah recommends because there is only one God. But again, some people say, well, why can't you just stop it? What you already did is already out there. Why continue? I'm like, it wouldn't be right if I didn't finish it up, you know? And so, I mean, again, I'll pray about it. I mean, if, you know, because again, I've heard some, you know, again, I won't name the names, but some Muslim sisters saying it's fantasy. If that's what Allah gave you creativity, you know, it's fiction, you know, continue with that. So I'll see where Allah leads me, but I don't think I'm going to write a lot of mythology anymore because it takes a lot out of you. But the poetry, I mean, it has a lot of research in itself, you know. Um, the poetry, I'll continue writing. I'm taking creative writing classes, which I should have taken a long time ago. So I'm learning to process myself. And the only challenge to that, because again, with me being a writer, is someone else critiquing my work. It's like, you know, but in a positive way because they're teachers.
yep.
And it's like, I guess in I'll just put it this way: it's like in Islamic school, if you go to a professor, if you're a teacher, and as a student, if you have an assignment to write something, say you freelanced and you thought you were doing good, but then you come to this class and you learn, and your teacher's looking at you like, you have potential. I see where you want to go, but let's correct a few things, you know, and continue on. So they're not putting you down with what you have, but they're trying to help you out. So that's where I'm going right now, and I'm appreciating the lessons Allah is giving me.
Hmm.
But yeah, so so you know that writing is part of my life, and I'm going to continue doing that because what I've learned in this past few months is you can't listen to everybody because if somebody puts your fire out or your excuse me, creative passion out that Allah gave you,
Hmm.
you wouldn't be you.
Right.
And again, so that's all I'll say on that one. So I, you know, again, I love writing. I could have a whole segment on that, you know, but yeah, so
Yeah.
I love the work I already put out there. And I'm going to finish that, you know, those 2 other volumes up and go somewhere else.
And this is amazing. Now, did you, before you started your writing career, did you do something else?
Um, well, I did, oh, besides taking care of my children.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the toughest
yeah,
career. That's the toughest career.
yes, it is. Actually, I'm also a humanitarian, so I build bridges with different people, whether it be in the Abrahamic faith or different. It's not just about religion, but I just build bridges in communities where I want things to be peaceful. I bring peace. I inspire people, and I've done that before my writing, and I still do it. And so I build And one person actually, I can see why they're asking. They're like, "Do you build literal bridges?" I'm like, "No, it's an expression. You're trying to build that. You're trying to, especially what's going on to, not just with the COVID, but just all around. I'm not going to limit to the U.S., but worldwide. We need
Yep.
more people bringing peace.
Yep.
And it's not just a religious thing. It's a humanitarian need. And you never know. You can start out one way in humanitarian, but you could be that doorway to lead, a person to Islam, and not really being about Islam. You could just be that doorway because of the humanity part. So hopefully I didn't lose you there, but yeah, so that's what I've been, with my project I've been working on.
This is great. You have definitely gone through a very big journey, and I think there's still a lot ahead of you. And I think it's going to be an amazing growth, especially in the next 10 years. Like the past 10 years have been enormous amount of growth, and moving forward will be also enormous amount of growth that is going to be very difficult right now to forecast. But it'll be such a beautiful journey that
Yeah, and inshallah, we'll see. Yeah.
inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. Well, thank you very much, Maryiem. This has been an amazing interview, and I encourage everybody to check out your links, which will be put in the description. And I really wish you the best. And is there any final word that you would like to say?
Yes, I just want to share with people again, as far as when it comes to Islam, if you're learning about it and you're considering to convert or revert, however you're going to put it in there. There's no perfect timing, but when you're going to do it from the heart. As I said, just make sure this is a life-changing experience. Make sure you want to do this, but do it for yourself and not for anyone else. That's the main thing. And, and again, as with my humanitarian, it's keep building those bridges peacefully and reaching out to other people. So, but as he said, the links will get up there, and the best thing to do is go to my Instagram account. It will have a link in my bio to my Amazon information.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, and may Allah be with you. And Jazakallahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.